Listen, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing here on NoFilter.net. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz, checking into an entertainment rumor that surfaced. I don't know. Have you seen anything along the lines that it is true that Mickey Rourke has been cast to play Marjorie Taylor Greene in a documentary? I mean, he's morphed into her. I mean, he really has. I saw this on social media, and I'm thinking, you know what? You're talking about a dead ringer here. Mickey Rourke, the current edition of Mickey Rourke, who the last time, and it was the only time I had any actual contact with this guy, he was fighting at the War Memorial Auditorium in Fort Lauderdale. Because remember, he launched a very brief and successful career as a professional boxer, although the guys were such stiffs that they literally had a hearse waiting outside the War Memorial Auditorium, and they would take the bodies back to the graveyard where they dug them up. It was like watching people scout future opponents for Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, Mickey Rourke managed to go like 6-0, I think, as a professional boxer. But it really does. He's taken on the look of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So check into that, people. That's a possibility. Further proof, Lubie, that soccer sucks. All right, so this is a big story. I don't know why. Why is it a big story that Greg Berhalter has been fired now as the head coach of the U.S. men's national team? We stink at the sport. Isn't this the equivalent of firing Red Klotz after 2 seasons with the Washington Generals? It's the same thing, right? How's this guy supposed to coach this track? Who's going to do well? Is there a guy out there that's going to be the solution to the problem that the Americans have, which is that we're not very good at the game? And as an American, as a red-blooded American, I love this country. I am proud of the fact that we stink at this sport. I think it's good. I don't know about you, Lubie. Are you one of those guys that's laced with anxiety, thinking, well, when are we ever going to get good at soccer? We're never going to get good at it. It's a stupid fucking game.
I mean, I like him more than you, but I don't care. I don't expect USA to be. Look, I am confused that we're this bad. Don't get me wrong, but like Panama shouldn't come out of our group. I'm not
Panama, where we're losing to not even third world countries. We're losing to fourth world countries where they don't even have a ball. They're kicking skulls around still.
That's
as the original Cro-Magnon man, was doing back in the day when the sport was invented, because these guys also were part of a mutant society that had no arms. Unbelievable. And we're worried about the head coach of this team. It's not going to make any difference. They could get anybody to be the head coach of this team, and it's going to still be bad. It's going to be an ugly picture, much like yesterday. I mean, proving further again that this is a game that is only favorable to the criminally insane and the mentally ill and the mentally disturbed. No? I mean, did you see this fiasco with Uruguay and Colombia? Now, we know the Colombian fans can be highly volatile. There was a thing, great 30 for 30. I'm surprised I've never seen it replayed. You see a lot of these things being replayed, and they're excellent films, these 30 for 30. And one of the things that ESPN did very well, as opposed to the ESPYs. Was there a time when we thought, there was a time, very briefly, where I thought the ESPYs were like a good idea. What do you think, Libby?
I liked them when I was like in my youth, when they would like have them in the middle of the summer when the sports season was dead, and it was like this kitschy, fun little thing where we'll make fun of itself. I like that. Now, and they try to make it like the sports version of the Oscars, and they have it.
Oh my God!
Whatever the hell. Yeah, I haven't watched one in like a decade, but I used to like it years ago, like when it was more fun. Now they've taken themselves too seriously, and it's annoying.
Oh, and this disgusting Serena Williams, great athlete, nobody could deny it, greatest women's tennis player of all time, with apologies to Chris and Martina, who became very lovable characters and still are. I mean, insufferable was the only way to describe that. That was a kind way of describing Serena Williams' persona as a tennis player. Now, I understand she's in the spotlight, but she was essentially, when she was out there, even though nobody would admit it, she was a fucking asshole, wasn't she? Throwing rackets at the line judges and cursing everybody out, sore loser, sore winner. So we have to suffer through that as everybody's paying homage to. And wonderful. As a sports entity and star, she deserves all the accolades to come her way. But do we really need to see her hosting this thing? I don't know. And then Prince Harry gets the Courage Award or whatever it is. I mean, they've diminished this down. When they gave it to Caitlyn Jenner,
yeah, I mean,
that was the end for me. That was it. I have zero interest in the ESPYs, but they must be desperate for summer programming. I don't know why, Lubie. I mean, they have so many different things. And yet last night, they actually had, believe it or not, an hour-long home run derby preview show.
What? Oh, no.
analyzing the home run derby, which they didn't even know who was in it yet. It was like, well, we got 4 guys signed up. Nobody wants to do this fucking thing. How crazy is it? But yeah, I mean, they're all over. ESPY's going to go tonight, and that's good because maybe it's a replacement for soccer. I don't know if anybody caught this. Did you see the end of this Uruguay-Colombia game? Where the Uruguayan players end up in the crowd, like beating the shit out of some of the adversarial Colombian fans after all kinds of crazy, nasty, dirty, underhanded Draymond Green type of shit. I mean, this was stuff that Draymond Green would have been embarrassed to pull, like elbowing guys in the eyeball and the stuff that was going on during another Thriller in Manila type of 1-0 game, where I think maybe the only goal was on a penalty kick. That's possible. But yeah, we know the Colombians are strange. You had the 2 Escobars, which was an excellent 30 for 30. Part of, I mean, the restoring faith that there may be some hope that ESPN gets back to being what you would always wanted it to be, which is a pillar of journalistic integrity. Not happening, right? Well, they're going to give us more Stephen A. Smith at $25 million a year. That's a pretty good deal, isn't it? He's making as much as some of these scrubs in the NBA. But that excellent series about the 2 Escobars I talked about, and now they didn't actually whack the guy because he scored an own goal. There was a guy named Escobar that scored an own goal in, I think, was it the World Cup for Colombia? And he ended up getting shot in a bar when he returned home to his country. But it turned out it had nothing to do with the own goal. Many people theorize that, wow, can you believe this? They took this guy out for losing a soccer game. But it just happened to be routine criminal activity there, which I can fully understand. Having been to Colombia to cover a sporting event, in this case, a world title fight involving a guy named Ricardo Torres, who hailed from Colombia, and he was one of their world champions that was highly heralded. And Kendall Holt out of Paterson, New Jersey, who was kind of a Roy Jones Jr. clone in his style of fighting. The fight took place at a place called the Salon de Jumbo in Barranquilla, Colombia. Salon de Jumbo was like kind of a name. I don't know. Is that Spanish for a country club? I'm not sure. The big salon or whatever. Anyway, I mean, the fans are so volatile there, and they're so outrageous in their reaction to virtually anything that happens that even when their guy won the fight on a bogus call by the referee, who happened to be a guy named Gino Rodriguez, answer to a good trivia question, Lubie. Gina Rodriguez, the actress who now has a television show with Michael Strahan or something. I mean, she's doing some kind of show with Brady. I don't know. She's got a thing they're touting very heavily on TV, but an Oscar-winning, award-winning actress, and very good. I mean, a tremendous actress. Gina Rodriguez is the daughter of the bogus referee who later became an official with, I think, I don't know, could be the most crooked organization in all of sports, the International Bribery Federation, the IBF. So he became a boxing official with them. But the fans, their guy wins, Lubie, and they're pelting the ring with bottles. They have a bizarre policy there where if you're getting more than 1 drink at a Colombian sporting event, this seems highly advisable, doesn't it? In spite of the fact that they torch stadiums and yesterday's incident. If you're buying more than 1 drink, they don't give you 2 cups. They give you the whole fucking bottle, the actual bottle.
There's no foresight in that at all. The only thing worse was the Yankee bat day.
Are there any personal injury attorneys in Colombia, for God's sake? I mean, they could cash in all day just by going to a tennis match. My God. Unbelievable. But yeah, so that broke out. And it's just further proof. It's another... How much evidence do you need? It's kind of like, when, unfortunately, I don't know what your political leanings are, people out there, but, when you see the list of Trump things, the sexual assaults, the criminal activity, the people he ripped off, the businesses he buried, you're asking yourself, at what point do you think maybe this isn't the guy? I understand the senility issues with Joe Biden. Even Clooney has jumped off the bandwagon now. I mean, the guy looks like he's a shot fighter, doesn't he? Really, like you would expect maybe Chuck Wepner if you met him in a bar somewhere about 12 years from now. And dementia had really started to say, yeah, I had Ali. I had him on the ropes. It's like, oh, okay, Joe. And they break out the little picture of them in the boxing pose. That's where Biden is at right now. We're talking about a legitimate depiction of a shot fighter. But, yeah, so who's surprised? I mean, shouldn't soccer just be outlawed, banned for the public's mental well-being? So that nobody argues about this stuff anymore because it's a stupid fucking game. I mean, that's the only way to look at it. All right, so I get my New York Post here in Florida, and I get the actual physical copy. I've held it up a few times, and I just enjoy reading it. I cannot perform a certain bodily function without having a newspaper in my hand. I can't read off the phone. I think it's compromising my vision. I don't know about you, Lubie. Can you see agate type in a newspaper anymore after being on your phone? You can. Okay.
I still can. Yeah.
That's good. I really fear optometrists are going to make a fortune in future societies after everybody burns their eyeballs out at 30 from looking at their phone from the time that they're 3 years old, which, by the way, I'm about to do because there's a lot of action still going on. And yesterday I did make a score on the Yankees game. There was a reason behind it. But where did I go to make the wager? Bet Online, your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. From baseball, golf, got the Scottish Open cranking up today. Soccer, right on through the big fights, UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played, man. You can change your mind or capitalize. Hey, I want to press it, man. I know they're going to win. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of poker or a game of blackjack, or you can take advantage of all the over 150 slot games that you can play. Head to the website today to get in on all the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online, the game starts here. So with all the talk, I mentioned the New York Post, and it's kind of like I worked for a newspaper that came out in the afternoon when I was living in California. They actually had like a PM edition of a newspaper. They had some paper came out in the same city in the morning, and this newspaper was in Ontario, California, not Canada, Ontario, California. Gateway to the West, my friends, gateway to the West. Just a smog-infested blot on the geographical map, and it was a place that at the time you probably would find very undesirable to live there. Because I didn't know there were mountains behind just behind the main street there until about 4 years into my presence in the so-called Inland Empire. Because it was the only day, one day, like a Santa Ana wind blew through, and there was like, whoa, fuck, Mount Everest is back there. Good athletes, came from that area. There were a lot of different sports being represented by top-notch athletes, whether it was track and field, boxing, football, of course. You met the great Anthony Munoz. Yes. He talks very fondly of his time there. But this newspaper came out in the afternoon, and so it was kind of a waste because, and I had dubbed the motto, and very unfavorably with the management that thought I was a bit of a clown to begin with. And I kept insisting that the motto for the paper should be yesterday's news tomorrow. So that's what I get here because I get an edition that's printed, I guess, at a time where they go to press and that they don't have a lot of the results from the previous night, including an East Coast game last night where the Yankees were in Tampa to take on the Rays. How is it possible, too, that a Yankee game in Tampa, when the Yankees have their headquarters in St. Petersburg, for God's sake, they have their spring training site there, and in Tampa, the Yankees come to town, maybe a few times a year? What would it be? How many games do they play inside the division now? It used to be like 19, but it's less now. Yeah. Anyway, so let's say it's 8 games a year, whatever. Yeah. How did they not sell those games out? When the Rays have been just one of the phenomenons when it comes to a franchise, and maybe it's addition by subtraction because they got rid of that guy. They unloaded that Peter Bendix stiff on the Miami Marlins. And they're still having a pretty good year, even though they've been decimated year after year after year by departures and defections because of the fact that they have no fucking money to spend. The Tampa Bay Rays, one of the most interesting stories in all of baseball, right up there with Billy Ball when he was running the Oakland A's. How do they do it? How do these teams with nothing, with no assets whatsoever, go out there and compete in the American League East, which you would have to say is a division where at least everybody tries? And they're a formidable foe for everybody and often finish up at the very top and into the postseason. And they couldn't sell out a Yankee game last night after they beat the Yankees the prior evening. But all of a sudden, all signs were pointing to the continued demise of the New York Yankees, weren't they, Lubie? And I mentioned yesterday's news tomorrow. So today it hits the papers about, okay, finally, they're screaming about Aaron Boone. they realized that Aaron Boone, the guy that they perceived to be a complete moron as a manager, maybe one of the worst in baseball history, Yankee fans have been screaming this for how many years, Lubie? Have you been listening to this from Yankee fans where they say, oh, Boone's got to go, man. What a buffoon. Cookie cutter manager with a lousy cookie cutter. And then he was the favorite son there for a while. Total free pass. Paul Free Pasqualoni. We used to call the coach at Syracuse for all those years where he was going 500. And you're thinking, how many years did I put up with this guy? May as well be coaching the U.S. Men's soccer team. But it wouldn't matter, right? You could put the worst coach in history in any sport there, and it's going to be the same result. That's the way it is. So everybody's piling on now. They're piling on Boone. Cashman was actually there because there was some kind of meeting taking place in St. Petersburg anyway. So he decided to show his face at the game, I guess, and stir things up a little bit. And he's been acknowledging quietly. You talk about a free pass. How come the pressure's never on this guy? We were talking about that a little bit yesterday. But all signs are pointing to the fact that the Yankees are going to continue this slide. And, man, did they wriggle off the hook last night on a number of occasions as the Tampa Bay Rays looked like they were going to blow by this 2-1 deficit they were suffering in the 6th, 7th inning. Kept getting guys on base, and a guy would lace a line drive, and Yankee outfielders would be pressed into making a spectacular running catch to end the inning. And they ended up winning. So, of course they did, because all signs were pointing to a loss. Everybody was piling on. And as soon as I saw this morning, I realized, wow, if people were getting this news yesterday, no wonder I was getting a very favorable price on the New York Yankees for the first time in a long, long time. So always go against the grain, my friend. Like we say, if you could book the media's action, you would be a rich person today. A couple of other things, though, that are of interest. You got Wimbledon going on, women's semifinals. The Joker got a free pass into the men's semifinals yesterday when Demineur, who's been playing very well, had to withdraw from the tournament with a hip injury he suffered in the previous round. So now the Joker's left in there. Sinner's been eliminated, and you're looking at 4 men left in the competition. The two most threatening, you would have to think, Carlos Alcaraz and Daniil Medvedev are going to play each other. So the Joker, after Taylor Fritz was defeated, finds himself now in the semifinals against the young Italian Musetti, who's maybe like the 3rd or 4th best Italian player, but a kid that's coming on. So very, very interesting, because I would have never thought. I thought that I was putting Joker, or starting to, in the category of a Tiger Woods, where I did not think he would win another slam. And so he's in a pretty good spot there. I don't know that I would find it overwhelmingly favorable. Of the 4 guys that are left, would he be the 3rd longest shot? I think so, yeah, because you know that one of the 2, Medvedev or Alcaraz, are going to be in the final. So he's going to have to beat one of those guys, and both very capable of defeating the Joker on his best stuff. So we will see. And then the women are going at it today in the semifinals, and a lot of interesting stuff happening there. Been a great tournament all the way around. So wrapping up what has been a soggy Wimbledon as we head towards, we got the semifinals in the women's division today. And on the men's side, that gets underway tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Plus, Degenerate Stream, it's a holiday, Lubie. Last Thursday, we had July 4th.
Toga.
Should we have worn a toga today? Somebody suggested that to me, that I should have dressed like Belushi instead of my usual slovenly self here.
We're doing video. I guess you could have gotten
just started yelling, Toga, Toga. Of course, the opening of Saratoga and the Saratoga meet, which has been expanded over the years, and for good reason. The people really, really love it. And great betting opportunities. I've already seen who fetches more than gamblers. And of gamblers, who complains more than horse players? Have you witnessed that? I mean, and horse players are never happy, Libby. They take down a $10,000 pick 5 and they go, it should have paid 20. Never happy. Like they have somebody sticking a very long pole right up their rear end, as Pat Riley suggested when they fortunately negated his deal for Juwan Howard, which would have buried the franchise for the next 10 years. And David Stern, because he hated Riley at the time, upended that deal and said, no, that's one not going to fly. And then Juwan Howard signed a lucrative contract elsewhere and went into the tank. And that was it.
Hurt every year after that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes luck is not necessarily always the residue of design. We know that. But maybe you can get lucky at Saratoga. The people love it. It's a great atmosphere, great betting atmosphere. Although I'm hearing complaints about from inside the business, Luby, that the quality of racing has gone into serious decline. Even before they run a single race there, people are crying already and saying, "Man, what kind of garbage is this?"
That sucks.
To me, it doesn't matter. I don't do well with the good horses. You know what? Give me the third at Beulah Park, and I'm a happy camper. That's for sure. So Toga gets underway today, and that should be fun. And then you have the Scottish Open. Can Rory McIlroy, did he shrug off that thing that happened in what was that? The U.S. Open, the last tournament that he blew. Yeah, where DeChambeau, he missed the two putts. Yeah.
Yes.
Does he shrug that off and go out there and have a good showing? Scottish Open, Rory McIlroy, or would you bet against him?
I'll probably do well.
All right.
The house
seems to be in pretty good cheer for a guy that went back and said, "Hey, you know what? And never mind this gorgeous babe Balionis, Amanda Balionis, who suddenly has taken her wedding ring and just thrown it in one of the canals, and supposedly was with Rory McIlroy, and." Consequently, McIlroy had filed for divorce as these rumors were surfacing, but then he went back. Lubie, does that work? Does that ever work? You go back to the original wife?
I never did it with my lone wife.
Well, she disappeared. That was great. She pulled a D.D. Cooper, man.
Worked out.
Parachuted out of a
I never did it with
airliner.
My ex from years ago, before I started doing the show, we became friendly before I actually met my wife. But we never dabble. I've never done that. I just, when it's done, it's done. To me, that's only going to lead to annoyance. There's a reason you ended, and I've always been a big believer of that.
Yeah, it just resurrects all the ugliness of the past, much like any conversation that somebody tries to draw us into about the game of soccer, which should not be considered. How? I mean, 80,000 people were at the Meadowlands to watch this Drek, Lubie. At the Meadowlands in a U.S. city. Unbelievable. What the hell happened out there? How did they hoodwink us into thinking that this was a sport? All right, we have to get out of here. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll have a Degenerate Friday edition of the Morning Briefing for you tomorrow right here on NoFilter.net.